Good Friday morning, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of the Finding God in the Dark podcast. My name is Don.
And I'm Jonathan.
And today we are going to talk about the 2019 version of this film's been made several times, right?
Yes, like four or
Um,
five. Yeah.
yeah, Little Women, based on the Louisa May Alcott book, which some folks had to read in high school. Um,
I
I
didn't.
think that was one of those ones that was on a choice list, and I chose something like the Martian Chronicles or something other than this. Uh, now, I want to say this before we get into talking about themes and stuff.
Yeah.
On this podcast,
Yeah.
we have discussed films that I thought I would like and I liked,
Yeah.
films that I knew I liked and I still liked, films I didn't think I would like, but I did like. And then this film, which I didn't think I was going to like, and I was right. But it ain't my kind of film. That's all I'm saying. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Everybody's got their own personal taste. We don't tell you what to think. We don't
Yeah.
tell you what to think about whether you like a film or not. Look, we've reviewed films that we both thought was ugh,
Yeah.
this is not a good film and don't watch it. But hey, some people like those movies or like those types of
Mhm.
movies. I don't
Yeah.
tell them, as a friend of mine says, I don't yuck your yum, you
Yeah.
know.
There you go.
So, but this is not my kind of film. I think I was put off by the fact that it time jumps a lot
Yeah.
and it becomes hard to follow at points. Like
Yeah.
what timeline are we in right now, you know?
Yeah. Luckily, there was
Um,
only two, but yeah, you're right. You kind of sometimes it took a beat to go like, is this 7 years ago or is this now or yeah,
right. And there's no like because obviously I mean it's filmed all at the same time. The people
yeah,
hadn't aged significantly,
yeah, yeah,
in the 7 year difference. And it's not like one scene every time you see what's his name, Laurie, he's got a mustache, and then in the older
yeah,
scenes he doesn't or something. They don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it's really hard sometimes to follow it, particularly if you're distracted even a little.
Yeah, I actually thought because we're talking 7 years, so the can't think of what's their last name.
March.
Marsh. Um, at the beginning of or I shouldn't say at the beginning, but when they're younger, they're all like 12, 13, 14, 15, and none of these women look like they're 12, 13, 14, and 15. And so sometimes I remember once where I actually thought the movie was I would classify it as good. I don't think I'd revisit it again, but it wasn't like for me it wasn't a horrible movie. But like there was one time where Amy is pitching a fit, and it took me a minute to go like, oh, this is when she's like 12. Like, okay, I get that because she looks like she's 20. And so I'm like, why is everyone okay with her pitching a fit like this? I was like, oh, she's 12 in this moment. So
The other part of that is that Emma Watson
yeah,
plays the oldest sister,
yeah.
Beth, I think, right?
Um,
No, not Beth.
no, no, Meg.
Meg, right. She plays the oldest sister, and yet she does not look like the oldest of
No,
those five daughters.
no, no.
Definitely does not, you
I
know.
wonder, I don't think anyone would ever do this, and I get this, I get why, but I wonder what it would be like if you made the movie with four or two sets of actors. If you had actors in their preteens, and then you had actors that really look similar to each other
Hmm.
in, in their 20s, because that's the time frame we're talking about, you know.
Yeah, or I mean, God forbid they did some kind of AI age
Like
change.
aged or younger, yeah, yeah. So what were there themes that you did like? Did connect with? Anything that
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it off, after we recorded last
yeah,
week, about, we particularly chose this film because it was on a list of films about generosity.
yeah,
And there certainly are, the setting is the Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay. Although it is not a war film.
No.
It is, it is completely like a home life film.
Yes.
But there's a lot of moments in it where that theme definitely comes up
Yeah.
and is very obvious. And yeah, sure, as a pastor, you like that. You like to see that. I
Look, can I get a ruling? Do you feel like their dad was a pastor or not? Because I was like, back in 1860 to marry somebody, or 1860s, I don't think there was an easy process to get a license to marry somebody. So my guess is he was either clergy or maybe a judge. I don't know.
Probably more likely a judge.
Yeah.
I would not because he was in the war. He was,
Yeah.
hurt in the war.
Yeah.
Generally, I think it's been a pretty common practice in this country that clergy don't fight in the wars. You may be,
Yeah.
you know, with a unit as a chaplain, but
Yeah.
so I'm going to guess that he was more likely a judge than he was a clergy person.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was interesting. And to me, it was being a fan of Breaking Bad
Mhm.
and Better Call Saul
Yeah.
and the Nobody films.
Yeah.
When Dad showed up and I went, "Oh, it's Bob Odenkirk."
Yeah. Let me ask you. Granted, this is a male perspective, so maybe I should. But I felt like I needed a villain in this movie. I feel like if there would have been an antagonist, I think for me it would have been more connecting.
I mean, I can see that. I think there's this sort of modern perspective
Yeah,
of, when there's no tension,
yeah,
right? Like what was any of the real tension was just a couple of fights between the sisters.
yeah. And like Aunt March was a jerk, but she wasn't like trying to steal the house
No,
or
right.
she was just a cranky old lady. Um, and there was a part of me it was just like I wonder if I would have been more interested or more deeply interested if like there was real tension with an antagonist. Um,
I think maybe the closest you get is the book publisher,
yes. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
is antagonistic toward Joe because he wants her to write, you know, spicy stories,
Yeah.
for lack of better
Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah.
And then there was that whole thing, that whole bit at the end, and I'm sorry that I'm picking this film apart. I know that a lot of people like this film, but there was that whole bit at the end where Joe writes her book and she
Yeah.
submits it to the publisher, and he says, change the ending,
Yeah.
and like you get the changed ending acted out,
Yeah.
but it's fantasy. It's not what actually happened to Joe, right? I mean,
Well, that's where I wonder if I would have read the book. My guess is the book ends with that romantic scene at the end. That
uh-huh.
would be my guess. I've never read the book, so I don't know. And my
Yeah.
guess is that Gerwig is kind of taking a modern twist to it. Kind of that would be my guess. But like I said,
Empowering the Little Women
yeah,
because they end up starting a school,
yeah,
and each of the girls becomes sort of their own.
yeah.
One is focused on
Teacher.
the arts, and so she's an
But
arts
if you
teacher.
notice, they're all there with the three male, their husbands or their boyfriends um, at the end of the movie. I just wonder if, like I said, I haven't read the book. I'm never going to read the book,
Neither am I.
um, but my guess is it ends with her probably getting attached to that guy. That'd be my guess.
I,
Um,
yeah, I don't know, but I haven't read the book either. I have no intention of reading the book. Um, but that was like, okay, so is that reality or is that
yeah,
fantasy? And it took to get to, where Gerwig took the story at the end
yeah,
to see what the intention was.
yeah.
It was, I don't know, it was it has some weird elements to it, but I
Yeah.
want to focus on like picking the film apart.
Yeah.
I don't want to go necessarily there. Um, what did you like about it? Where were the themes we want to talk about here?
Well, I'll go with a scene that I was like, wow, that's really beautifully shot and really beautifully executed. The scene with Joe and Beth as she's dying on the beach. I thought that was beautifully shot. I thought the two actresses did a really nice job with that scene. Basically about someone dying, and she's gotten to a point where she's accepted that she's going to die, but the other person doesn't want to let her go. And I do feel like that is a huge part of life. And you know this as a pastor, most people avoid dealing with those issues and thinking about those issues until they literally have to. And that's one of the deep sadnesses, I think, of this job for me is so many people don't prepare for that. They don't have conversations about that. They don't plan for it. They don't work through it. And so it all hits them like a ton of bricks.
That is I mean, that's a whole sequence. And again, there's that time jump thing with
Yeah.
that. So Beth is the sister who passes away. But she's sick when they're younger.
Yeah.
She gets scarlet fever.
Yeah.
And so there's a scene where Joe is at her bedside and Joe falls asleep there and she wakes up and the bed is empty.
Yeah.
And she goes downstairs and Beth is sitting at the breakfast table with mom and another sister and oh, she got well, great. And then like the very next scene, Beth wakes up, she's at the bedside for Beth, the bed is empty, she goes downstairs, mom is at the breakfast table by herself.
Yeah.
And okay, like I get the indication, but it's like I don't know. I've I don't mind stories that jump around a little bit.
Yeah.
I love. Oh gosh, there's
The,
I can't even
the,
think of the film right now, but there's so many of these films that like
yeah.
you get to a point and then it'll jump back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and fill in the blanks. Deadpool did it,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Not that this film and Deadpool are comparable.
Yeah.
Just an example,
No,
but
yeah. To me, I guess the note I would have offered, again, I feel bad because I've never read the book, and this might be part of the book, but to me, I needed to be more invested in Beth.
yeah,
And I felt like she almost didn't exist, and then I was supposed to be sad that she died. And I
yeah,
feel like if you want me to be sad that she died, you need to give me more.
more character development.
Yeah,
Yeah. And honestly, the saddest part about Beth passing in the film was not even her character. It was when the other guy that Joe met in New York came
yeah,
to visit and played the piano,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because everybody was like, nobody plays that because that was Beth's piano,
yeah,
and that was like the saddest part of it,
yeah,
you know, which anyway, but you're right. And insofar as the grief thing,
yeah,
we are, I don't know if this is on us necessarily sometimes, but maybe just as a society, we are really bad
mhm,
at dealing with grief,
yes,
at dealing with loss. We
yeah,
we stink at it.
yes,
Um, because and particularly I think sometimes in the Christian church, we just don't know what to say to people,
yeah,
right? You don't know that, and I don't think we clergy, we even really get specifically trained on this, but
yeah,
in my mind, it's like you can't, you don't have the words.
yeah,
There are no magic words. What
yeah,
you can do is be present,
yeah.
right?
And affirm this is difficult or it sucks or it's,
Exactly.
yeah,
And the problem is we have far too many Christian people who just feel like they have to fill up that grief space with something.
yeah. And in clinical pastoral education, CPE for short,
Hmm.
um, my advisor, when I was doing that, that's a program that some clergy do. Sometimes you're required to. When I was
Yep.
Presbyterian, you're required to. That's why I did it. Um, but he mentioned something that's always stuck with me. He goes, usually in those kind of grief situations, when you talk, you're trying to make yourself feel better.
That's so right.
That's what
That
you're
is
trying to do.
so right. Yeah, I
And
took a half a unit of CPE at a trauma center hospital.
yeah,
So there and you learn quick. There's nothing you can fill that space with
no,
that is going to be helpful.
yeah,
When people are ready to talk, okay, be prepared to talk, but
yeah,
mostly just be prepared to sit
yeah,
and be present. I mean, as clergy, I think maybe we neglect this. There's an entire ministry of just being present.
yeah,
And you don't have to say anything. You don't have to bring anything. You don't have to pray in a particular way. Just be with people because in difficult times like that, people need people,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
What else?
Um, what did you think about the? I know this is a modern retelling of it. What did you think about um, the kind of interplay between men and women and the role women are supposed to play and the role men are supposed to play? I thought it was interesting some of the themes that were in the book, and I'm guessing in the book too, but in the movie. But I felt like I felt like they were underdeveloped. Um, you don't really you kind of get a couple times where Amy talks about, look, I've got to get married because I need to help my family and I can't make enough money on my own, and so I have to get married. And those kind of conversations, I'm sure, were things women struggled with in that period of time. And yet, I felt like there were just kind of monologues about it. And I don't know if the book's like that or kind of I don't know. But to me, I was kind of interested. What was your take about male female relationships?
It was interesting that Aunt March
Yeah,
is the one that was telling Amy that you have to get married.
yeah,
You're the only one that can save your family.
yeah,
And I don't know. I think there's certainly an element in this film of that is a historical cultural thing,
yeah,
right? It was definitely a thing at that time. But I also get the sense that the director has put a more modern spin on it.
yeah,
And I think she deliberately made this film to be an empowering type of thing for
sure,
women.
yeah,
Um, and I don't know if that is historically accurate.
yeah,
I think it's probably less historically accurate than we think. I don't know that it's in the book.
yeah,
Again, haven't read it. So, um, I, I mean, look, you and I are in a denomination that
yeah,
ordains women.
yes,
So, don't mistake,
yeah,
anything we say here. We don't think we don't think differently than our denomination, or we
yeah,
wouldn't be here.
yeah,
Um, but, but I think that I guess my problem with it would be that I don't like when a, a modern film sort of retcons history.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if you're going to do a historical piece, if it is set during the Civil War, then do it that way.
yeah.
You
I did
know?
like one of my favorite lines in the movie. I'm guessing it's from the book, but I could be wrong. Um, is when Meg says to Joe on Meg's wedding day, just because my dreams are different than yours doesn't mean they're less important.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no, that's powerful.
that struggle of women and men who choose to do something different than what society pressures them to do. I do think it's important for us to remember if somebody wants to be a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, um, if that's what they want to do and they're able to do it, it's not our place to go, no, no, that can't be your dream. You have to have something else.
You no, that's not what did I say at the beginning?
Yeah.
It's not my job to yuck your yum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And go ahead, you were gonna say.
No, one thing I did think about a lot, and I'm guessing this book is part of the issue, but most of our society shapes things around romance in this way, is marriage is a lot more than falling in love. And sometimes I struggle with how our society tells stories about romance, about, it's about the finding the person that always makes you happy, or having this feeling that, because the reality is, if you look at even scientifically, that initial kind of reaction that people have when they fall in love fades over about a 3 to 5 year period. And then you have to, if you're going to make a marriage work past that, you have to recognize and found it on something more than that initial woohoo feeling.
Yeah.
And I guess I struggle with, you got a sense of that with Meg and her husband. You had this scene where she was frustrated by the fact that she had more growing up than he could provide as the breadwinner, and they have this interaction about kind of struggling with that, and then they kind of find peace about it because they want to be together. But to me, that's something that's under talked about in marriage and movies around romance. Is it's wonderful to have that kind of fall in love experience, but if you're going to make marriage last, you have to go past that. You just do.
Often said it's as a sort of an illustration in a wedding homily when I have done weddings that um marriage is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. It's
Yeah,
hard work.
yeah,
It's not, it doesn't just like, this wonderful experience that you're having right now
yeah,
is not going to be your feelings toward each other forever.
yeah,
And so you're going to have to learn to still love him when he leaves his socks on the floor, or still love her when she plans your weekend for you. I mean, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think this film did that better than some,
yeah,
because you're right, a lot of modern romance films are all about, like, they're Hallmark Channel films,
yeah,
right?
mhm,
They're all about the falling in love part.
yeah,
But there's a whole lot, maybe we need more, less Hallmark Channel and more on Golden Pond, you know
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Um,
put it all in movie perspective, I guess, right?
yeah, one of the other quotes that stuck out at me is the newspaper or book publisher, I can't remember exactly what he was, but he says at one point, morals don't sell nowadays. I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, yeah, that kind of feels right,
That's
unfortunately.
very modern. That
Um,
is very modern.
you know, but that idea of, well, the idea that a movie about people's lives who care about each other, or a book about just people's lives that care about each other, you want something to blow up, or you want something, or
You want a villain,
you
right?
want a villain.
Yeah.
And part of part of what's interesting, I think, about this movie is it's literally just about these people's lives.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it's about the death of one of the sisters, and that's kind of a big kind of um, pendulum swing in the movie, but the reality is it's just about their lives, them trying to figure out what it means to be themselves, what kind of life they want to live,
Hmm.
kind of navigating those dreams to make it work, and then falling in love. I mean, that's literally what the movie's about, you know.
Yeah, those small stories, and in a way, I mean, it's Earl Hamner. You know who Earl Hamner is?
No.
Earl Hamner started out as a writer
Okay.
um, on a mountain in Virginia with his family. He ended up writing for television,
Hmm.
and his family story for television was the series called The Waltons.
Oh, the Waltons. Okay.
Okay, so Earl Hamner, he wrote those kinds of stories. Now he wrote
Yeah.
other stuff later on when he became a Hollywood guy,
Yeah.
but his very early on stories were just stories about his family and life on the mountain, in the actual town, folks, because my wife's a big fan and we've been there. The actual
Yeah.
town is called Schuyler, and it's spelled like Schuly, something like that. But it's in Virginia, in the Appalachians in Virginia, and it is still there. The house is still there, the actual house that Earl Hamner grew up in.
Hmm.
you know, but yeah, but there's not the publisher though. He's right. Generally, there's not a big appetite for those kinds of stories.
Oh, no.
It was interesting that the impetus for the publisher to want more of the story was his children having
Okay.
read it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I don't imagine that's in the book. I don't think there's anything about the publisher in the book. Um, but that was an interesting take on it, like what
Yeah.
happened to the Little Women, the kids are going,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they only got the first few chapters of the book.
Yeah.
Um, is it that children are more interested in those homespun sort of stories, or I'm not sure what the author or the director's saying there.
Well, it's a reminder that, you know, that life happens in the boring parts. I hate to say it, but like, you know,
No, it's true.
and um well, it's a refrain that folks that talk about mindfulness and meditation talk about a lot, is that most human beings spend their entire lives either dwelling on the past or dreaming about the future, but they
Hmm.
don't actually enjoy and live in the moment that actually they have. You
Yeah.
know, because this moment's the only moment we have.
Well, gosh, maybe that is the real positive to take away from this film.
Mhm.
Whether you like the film or you don't like the film, but maybe that's the real positive, is that we need to learn to live in the moment,
Yeah,
you know, to recognize the moment, because really this film is a lot of those very small moments,
yeah,
you know, and we spend our lives doing this,
yeah,
you know, and not living in the moment, not, you know, savoring those little times. I, Now look, it's cultural for sure,
mhm.
right? I mean, our our kids don't know a time when there weren't these, you
Yes,
know. You and I do. Our folks our age and older, we remember
yeah,
when you were getting a phone call, you had to take that phone and go in the pantry. Hopefully, you had a long enough cord to go and have a private call. You weren't
yeah,
walking around with one in your pocket.
no, yeah,
So, I guess in that sense, I mean, this film really is kind of a throwback. You
yeah,
know, I mean, it's a period piece, but still, you could make a modern film that's not a period piece, that still focused on the small things, the little
yeah,
moments. And I'm sure there are films like that. I'm not saying there aren't, but
no,
um, it's interesting that this whole month we have looked at films that are either very old or
yeah,
set in a much older time.
yeah.
And by the way, friends, we are going to continue that through the Christmas season, which maybe that's a transition. Uh,
Oh, it is.
it is a bit of a transition, but well, I think we want to wrap up kind of this film. It's I don't know what do you want to say about this one?
I did think it had interesting themes to play around with.
Hmm.
I guess in my head, um, I wanted more because Beth's death is such a pivotal has such a pivotal place. I felt like I needed to know Beth more, and I felt like she was
Mhm.
literally like scenery for most of the movie, and then she dies. Like,
Yeah, she almost like an underdeveloped side character.
yeah. And so I guess like I said, I haven't read the book. My guess is the book does a little better job of kind of fleshing out who Beth is. But to me, you've got to give the reader or the watcher more to grab onto if you really want death to be a stinging moment.
Yeah. I mean, the most developed character in the film is Joe,
Yes.
without question. And you know, what is what is the tension with Joe? Is it all about writing the book? Is that what the whole thing was?
Yeah, and I felt like there it alludes to tension between Joe and Amy, and I'm guessing that tension you see in the book, but we didn't get really examples of Amy at one point says, I'm always coming in second to Joe," and I'm like, but we never saw that in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, it is one of several versions of this film. There's actually one I think has been made even more recently than this.
No, this is the most recent, but
Okay, this is the most recent.
there was one with Susan Sarandon and Winona Ryder that was made probably like 15 years before this kind of
Okay.
thing.
And
Yeah,
then there's one that's black and white, a
yeah,
very old one.
yeah.
Um, but your tastes, folks. We don't tell you to watch it or not watch it. We just want to talk about what's in it. So,
I really don't think it was a bad movie. I guess I would just have liked the transitions to be a little more clearer and more development for Beth. I feel like if there was more development for Beth and the transitions were, I think your idea of having somebody have a mustache, you know,
just so
oh,
you
it's
know
7
what
years from now.
timeline it is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But look, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie either.
yeah,
I thought it was well shot. I think the acting was spot on in a lot of places.
yeah,
Um, I just didn't like it. That's
yeah,
me. That's a personal thing.
yeah.
So let's transition to what we're going to
Sounds
watch
good.
next week. No,
Yeah,
we are we're recording this. It is before Thanksgiving. You
yeah,
will see this the day after Thanksgiving.
yeah,
So we're transitioning into, we're going to talk about some classic Christmas films for the Christmas season.
yeah,
And since we've already done It's a Wonderful Life this month, that's off the table.
yeah.
Um, but we are going to go back that far,
Okay.
um, and maybe farther. We'll see.
Okay.
So do you want to offer something, John, or
I have one, but I was going to give you the first shot. So you
okay? Well,
can,
then I'm going to say Miracle on 34th Street.
okay. I'm guessing the original version.
Oh yes, the original.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Virginia. There is a Santa Claus.
With Natalie Wood and I can't remember the guy who plays Santa. But yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Do you know what streaming
look it up.
service it's on that we could tell
It
them?
it's that one is available on, I think it's on Disney Plus, it's on Amazon Prime, it's on several services.
Okay.
Easy to find.
Okay.
I looked that up ahead of time because there were a couple others I was looking at.
Mhm.
Like, at some point I'd like to do White Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, but that one was only available on a limited few services, and I'd probably have to pay for it. So right off, I have a problem with that because we don't, what do you, $3, right? I'm not complaining,
Yeah.
but but this one is available on it's on Disney Plus, it's on Amazon Prime, so
Sounds great.
easy to find. So for next week, friends, the old black and white classic Miracle on 34th Street. We want to get you in the Christmas mood. So take a look at that one. And until next Friday, take care. Keep on finding God in the dark. We'll see you all next week.
Have a great Thanksgiving, guys.
Oh, hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support. And friends, if you find anything that's really wonderful or entertaining or helpful in your Christian walk, we want to encourage you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends. We publish every Friday morning at 10 a.m. And we hope that you continue to find these videos and these discussions entertaining and informative. Take care and God bless. Bye.